Hi, my name is Paula Gloria, and my show is called Farther Down the Rabbit Hole. And today I have with me two special guests. One that came from Wyoming. Your name is?
Hilda Thomas.
Hilda Thomas.
Yes.
And Hilda Thomas is bringing up a guest that you've seen on the show before, and that's Nancy Hannum. So thank you for, consenting to do this little talk. Should we start with why Nancy, Janet? Hilda brought you up here?
I lived here 30 years ago and hunted with Mrs. Hannum, and I come back once a year to visit. And the happiest part of my visit is
Isn't it lucky she doesn't forget us?
Coming to see Mrs. Hannum, listening to her stories, driving around the country with her, and reliving some of the past. A very special lady.
So, Hilda?
Yes.
You're a huntswoman, right?
You hunted a lot with Mrs. Hannum then.
Right, and you know how to get on a horse and not fall off when it goes over those scary fences.
She stays on them very well.
She stays on them
no
well.
matter what they do.
Now, one thing I noticed is that Molly Cheshire's father, John Cheshire, who's been on our show a lot because he does a lot of science work, he said that this particular land was a little too manicured for him, and there was some wilder land a little bit farther away. But today Molly told me that that land was owned by farmers and they sold out.
Molly Cheshire told you?
Molly Cheshire told me that. And that the farmers couldn't keep the land as manicured as this. And now it's gone because it's been developed. So to me this shows...
Where is that?
Well, we'll find out from Molly. But the point is this shows how the hunt can actually keep land more wild.
You're so right there.
Yeah.
Because... where the Cheshires used to live now is owned, well, it was owned by Phil Fanning, and now Phil Fanning has sold it to some new people who are taking just as good care of it as it ever was when John Cheshire didn't go to becoming a shrimp farmer.
Right, yes.
I tell him he's gone down in life since he was up here being a good fox hunter.
Right, a good fox hunter. It was an important time of his life,
Yeah.
and his wife was very worried because he was 40 years old when he learned how to ride a horse.
She's wonderful.
Yeah, Julie.
Yeah.
Well, we just got back from Dayton, Ohio, and Julie organized a family reunion for the Pattersons.
Oh, good.
And I've just been reading about the Revolutionary War heroes, in their family tree, and just sort of imagining what their life was like. They were a lot closer to nature, to horses and cows and so on.
Aren't we lucky we stopped here?
Yeah.
We stopped at the right place to find out all the
paradise for
important
you
things.
to come here from Manhattan.
I love coming here.
Get to
But
stay
you know
on
what?
this.
You know what, Mrs. Hannum? I want to tell you something. After I saw your interview and started rethinking the fox hunt, I go around Manhattan on my bicycle. I go everywhere on my bicycle. And I kind of imagine in the old days when, maybe your uncle, Avrell Harriman was your uncle? And grandfather?
Yeah.
And I was imagining that, perhaps women had horses then.
Women had what?
They had horses in Manhattan at
yeah.
that time.
They did. It used to be.
And you could steeplechase in Manhattan.
Manhattan, did you?
No. I would imagine.
No, but I could imagine
your grandparents
Yeah.
probably were doing that, right?
Well,
Women.
I'm not sure if it was
On Long
steeplechasing, but maybe
They were
as
steeplechasing
Mrs.
on Long
Hannum says, going up to Long Island.
Yeah.
And they had steeplechases on Long Island, and they had the Meadowbrook Polo Club in Long Island. And then Mr. Ambrose Clark had a lovely, huge steeplechasing course on his place outside of Westbury, Long Island. Did you ever know Mr. Ambrose Clark?
No, I didn't.
you're too young.
I'm a California girl also, so I'm only on the East Coast recently. But what was it like? Maybe you know, Hilda, about women. Did women always steeplechase, or was that something that happened later?
That's a fairly recent development.
Oh,
I think.
really? What year do you think that would be?
Well, actually, back in 1985, the American, I'm not sure if it was called the American Steeplechasing Association, did not license women to ride in recognized meetings, but they rode in all sorts of point-to-points very successfully down in Maryland and Virginia. I think mostly Virginia, Maryland, and Pennsylvania. And then somewhere around Peapack, New Jersey, where the Essex foxhounds were. That was a very active fox hunting area where a lot of women riders were very active, like Mrs. Philip Fanning. She was a very active person there, and master at one point of the Essex foxhounds.
Now, when you say master of the hounds,
I used to be.
Now
I was joint master with my stepfather, Mr. Plunkett Stewart, and then when he died, I became master of Mr. Stewart's Cheshire foxhounds.
Now, do you consider yourself a feminist?
Do I what?
Do you consider yourself a feminist? In other words, if riding, as Hulda was saying, is recent for women, the term master of the hounds you would think of as a man, a male. You don't say mistress of the hounds.
No, it's always master of a pack of hounds, but there are a lot of masters of packs of hounds all over the world who are women.
Who are women.
But it's always master. It's just like being, if you were president of a company and happened to be Mrs. John Jones, you would still be president. You wouldn't be whatever would be a woman president.
Well, no, I think you're thinking chairman of the board, because I was in that position once.
Oh, really?
By the time I was chairman of the board, I did not want to be chairwoman. I wanted, so maybe it's the same thing.
I don't know whether you have seen this article, which just appeared about Mrs. Hannum
Oh, no, let's
in
see
a
that.
recent Chronicle of the Horse, which is sort of the Bible of horse people. And this was just done a couple of months ago.
Oh, really?
I have made several copies of this
Could I
because
have a copy?
I will give you this one.
Wonderful.
But I made some for my children who have met Mrs. Hannum and wanted to see this. But you should read this. It will certainly give you
I will.
another insight
Another insight into how they contribute to society and how...
into this grand lady's life. But you need to, let me
I
make sure I
definitely
don't
will.
have 3 copies here.
And
Yeah,
Hulda,
how
what's it like?
kind of you. Are you going to give this to
But
lady?
I am, because
Oh,
I have more
nice.
copies. I have several more copies in
Yeah.
a suitcase.
We all work together. It's a
Yeah.
collective
This is a
effort.
neat
Well, isn't that
Thank you
nice?
so much.
You
I'm
see
honored.
what? All these ladies work together,
Right.
and that's
right.
why we're all such good friends.
Right. I was reading about one of Molly's relatives. I think her name was
Molly Cheshire's
Molly
really-
Cheshire. It was Kitty Brown, and it was in the War of 1812. How they all got together and they made uniforms for the soldiers. 1,800 uniforms
Wow.
in Dayton, Ohio. So it just shows,
I never knew that.
When you
Molly
interviewed-
Cheshire
I'm going to
was-
give you the book. Do you read?
Really?
Do you read?
Is that what is the name of the book? I can
Oh,
get it.
you can't. It's something that was just done for the family. A
Really?
little collection. But I'll see that you. Do you read? Do
Well,
you like
I would
reading?
love it.
Yeah,
it's
I'll get it
Mrs.
for you.
John B. Hannum, Unionville, and I will be sure to save it carefully and give it right back to you.
Wonderful.
And
It's
you
just
tell me, what is your address?
I'm 26 Gramercy Park South, 7H, New York, 10003.
Oh my goodness,
you
that's
have a
much
card?
too
I'll-
difficult for me
I'll-
to remember.
Yeah,
have a
no,
card?
I'll write
You
it down
let me
for you.
know when you send the book.
Okay, I will. I'll do that.
But it's
And-
so
Did
good
you,
to see you.
Yeah.
When you interviewed Mrs. Hannum, did you do
Molly
that?
did. I didn't do it.
Okay.
Molly did it. And
So you didn't do it at her house?
no, at Molly's house. And you liked it
Okay.
very much. And Molly's remodeling it right now and trying to keep the historical feeling, but still have a little
Oh,
more
really?
space. Because it was originally a tack shop. And so Molly has done a wonderful job. But I wanted to ask, are you still riding in Wyoming?
Riding horses. We don't hunt, just
You don't?
saddle horses.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And where do you live in Wyoming? Are you
Outside of Cody?
outside of Cody?
Outside
Wow.
of Cody, yeah.
Far away, too
Yeah.
far away.
I spent one month in Wyoming in the dead of winter. It was really cold.
Where were you?
I can't even remember. It's been so long. I do remember as a California girl, I was so struck when the lady of the house, she was a doctor's wife, said, we were there to teach them how to meditate. I was a teacher of meditation.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you a doctor?
No. Well, maybe a doctor of the soul to try to connect people.
Yeah.
But she said, we're finished with the ice cream. Does anybody want any more before I put it outside? And for a California girl, you put ice cream in the freezer, so you can't imagine that it's actually freezing outside. So that's where she was keeping the ice cream. It's just, little idiosyncrasies.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you for joining me,
Oh, I
Mrs.
think this has been so wonderful.
Yeah.
Aren't we lucky we stopped here?
Yeah.
Actually, we drove in because we were both remembering when this was just a tract of land.
Oh, yeah, do
Open
tell.
land. And a friend of mine from Allentown, Pennsylvania, bought this land in the, I'm saying, early 70s. He built this house, and he
Oh.
built every one of these run-in sheds. He built every one of these paddocks. He was one of the leading quarter horse breeders in the entire world.
Wow.
And this operation, they were breeding show hunters here. He had thoroughbred mares and were breeding horses for the show ring.
Wow.
And he had this place. Now, of course, Mr. G. Wax built this huge house in which he lives. That's not original.
I know
But-
it looks original. I just found out that it wasn't original.
No, this is the house that Tom built for the gal that was running this place.
I see.
And he did a wonderful job with it.
Who was his name? What was his name
Tom
again?
Fuller.
Tom Fuller.
And
I
he
see.
had the Willowbrook Farms up in Allentown. In fact, I'm having lunch with him and his wife on Tuesday. I always go
Oh,
see them on
really?
the way out.
Oh.
So I think it's a wonderful place. Mrs.
Yeah.
Do
Hannum
you
and I were-
remember the beautiful stone gate posts that said, what did they say, Wedgwood?
It was
What did-
Winterwood Farm. was the
Winterwood
ori-
Farms?
This was the old Winterwood
Right at
Farm.
the-
No, I don't
Yeah.
know anything about this. I'm
Really?
from California. That's what I'm saying. It's
Well,
all news. I
Now,
just believe
let-
in
we'll
history.
We'll let Hilda tell you. It was Winterwood Farms on two beautiful stone gate posts that weren't just sort of erected, but were beautifully designed, weren't they?
It was actually inside the gate, to the right of the gate. It was a great big wedge of stone. It was not gate posts, with a lovely sign that called this
Oh.
Winterwood Farm, and it's gone. I mean, since this man bought it, it's not here.
Wow.
But if you're into history, you should, and I don't know, volunteering your house, Mrs. Hannum. Mrs. Hannum's house was built in 1682,
No kidding.
and it is a treasure trove of history and memorabilia.
How long are you here?
And I don't know if Mrs. Hannum would say, please do come and let me show you my
Well, I
extraordinary
was
house.
just going to say,
Here I
if
am
you
staying
feel
there and
interested
inviting
enough,
you, but you,
we're 18
Okay.
and drive down the drive and blow your horn and somebody will let you in.
Well, I'll send you the little book first.
Please,
Okay, and
please.
then we can take it from there because I have to get back for a photo shoot tomorrow morning. That's
Oh,
going to be
dear.
of artists.
Really?
Because what I'm saying
Well,
is that
are
we
you
need the artists.
professionally an artist, or are you professionally a photographer?
That's the problem about me. It's very hard to figure out what I am. A long time ago, my father said, when he heard some of my ideas, he said, I don't know, Paula, women shouldn't be engineers and lawyers.
And what
I-
else?
And lawyers. Women,
lawyers.
they shouldn't be engineers and lawyers. And I said, Daddy, you're right. We should hire them.
At big prices.
They get big prices, and I learned a lot from
Yeah.
lawyers and engineers.
Well,
I'm always learning, and I always like to share with my
well,
audience.
if you're learning, I don't know if you're going to learn anything, but anyhow, stop in at 1842
this
on
down.
the
You-
south.
You don't have to write it down because it's on the video,
Okay.
so I'll be able to.
do you
Oh,
have Mrs.
wonderful.
Hannum's
Yeah.
phone number?
Why don't you say your phone number?
And I telephone, and that
Wonderful.
has an answering service, so somebody will get it somehow or other
Great.
all the time.
Great.
Now my own is 87, and that I will pick up if I'm right there at the phone, but 86 is safer.
Okay, and then I'm not going to put your telephone number. I'll edit that out.
Okay.
But I just want on camera to have consent that I can share these thoughts that you've given with the Manhattan audience and then on the internet.
Well, I think she's the one that's told you the important
do I have your
things.
consent?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Tell
And
me what this is for. I'm fascinated.
public access television. Part of democracy means we have to be informed. And my feeling is if people can understand each other better, we will be able to work together better. But if we demonize people and label people, say, these people are rich, these people are poor, these people are Democrats, these people are conservative, then we never get anywhere and we can't work together. So,
Well, you've explained it so well. I
Yeah.
think we know a lot more than when we came, don't you?
I'm so glad you
Absolutely.
came. So do I have your consent to share these thoughts, minus your telephone number, of course.
Sure.
Okay.
You got my telephone number, you got my address, and I hope we'll see you very soon.
Thank you so
And
much.
then
If
thank
you
if
you.
we can
back-
persuade,
If you come back, you would be fascinated to see the house. You would
I
really
know.
understand so much of Mrs. Hannum's
I know.
background and her life.
Oh no, definitely.
Seeing her
Well,
in
there's
her
a
own
book
home.
upstairs by my bed called
Lady Blows a Horn.
Lady
Yeah.
Blows a Horn.
And
Yeah.
that's Mrs.
And
Hannum's
Molly was just
biography.
telling me about it
Yeah.
this morning,
Yeah.
so I'll take a
well,
look at that.
The Lady Blows a Horn was written by Mr. Prickett,
Hmm.
wasn't it?
No, Prickett didn't write the book.
Well, anyway,
Prickett
I know
wrote-
you have a lot of vitality in you. Can you come up to Manhattan sometime, and we can put you in the professional studios?
Oh, I don't think so.
No?
No,
Okay.
I think that
Then I'll just come down
Manhattan is about 2 miles beyond my entry.
here. Okay, thank
See,
you
I've
so
still
much.
got crutches here
Yes.
that take me around,
Right, good for
and
you.
my
though.
crutches don't want to go to Manhattan.
Well, anyway, thank you both of you for
Well,
consenting to
wonderful
this
visiting with you.
interview.
Wonderful visiting with
it'll
you.
it'll go a long way to create
Thank you.
connections.
And then
empathy.
you're really, when you're representing anything, you're representing something, accent, what is it you said?
Public access. It's
Public accent.
It's called Manhattan Neighborhood Network.
I'll have to
But
write
but
this down.
what's really exciting is it's going out on the internet. So people all over the world can watch as Manhattan's watching.
And what's
Really?
it called?
And
Manhattan?
Manhattan Neighborhood Network. And I'm on Channel 34 every morning from 11:30 until 12. And then
Channel 34 every morning?
in Monday through Friday.
Oh, I see.
Only in Manhattan.
Only
because,
in Manhattan.
Because it's local public access.
Oh, I
it's
see.
where regular people can share their concerns and share
So
ideas.
our sort of country television wouldn't pick you up.
No, but you could get it on the internet.
I see.
You can
What
go
is-
you can go to mnn.org. NN. That means Manhattan Neighborhood Network. .org.
Manhattan neighborhood. I have friends that live up there. I'll tell them about
Oh
this.
yeah. Well, do you come up, Hilda?
I just was up there.
Okay, so maybe on your next trip out from Wyoming we can make it happen.
Well, I'll tell you. Frankly, your city scares me to death. I want to be out here in the open
I
country.
know.
I spent 2 days there and went right back.
And your
sat
name
by-
is Paula?
My name is Paula Gloria Tsakuna. I just use
Paula Gloria?
Tsakuna, Tsakona. It's Greek.
T as in Thomas?
Uh-huh.
O
S-A-C-O-N-A-S.
S-A-C-O-N. A-N.
A-S.
A-S.
Where-
Tobas.
A-S, yeah. My father made it like that, but the original Greek, the C is a K, and then women always ends in an A.
Oh,
So when my
really?
cousin and I were traveling in India, I wanted the same last name she had. So I changed it to T-S-A-K-O-N-A, Tsakuna.
Oh.
But you can have it both ways.
Where do you live in California?
In Berkeley.
Okay.
Yeah, I grew up in Berkeley.
I have
That's
a very
closer to,
Born in San Francisco.
closer to
have-
Oklahoma than we are.
Yeah.
I have a very good friend
Wyoming.
who is married
Wyoming,
to-
I would say, yeah.
She is an Irish Catholic from Queens. She is married to a Greek. They live in Walnut Creek, but they have
Yeah,
the
I'm near
biggest,
Walnut Creek.
oldest Greek vineyards and winery in California.
Really?
And the vineyards are in Redwood Valley. And
Really?
next summer, they have a huge open house and wine tour. And I'm driving to Lake Tahoe and picking up a mutual friend who lives in New York, in whose apartment we stayed. And we are driving from Tahoe to Redwood Valley for this wine tasting.
Really?
If you have a card and give it to me, I will call you. You would love these people. They are more fun than anything you can
Really?
imagine. You would have fun with them.
Well, definitely. Actually, I need your card. If you
I
can
can-
give me
sure.
that. I just came out to tape a yoga lesson, so
Yeah.
I didn't.
So
You
you're
don't
sadly-
happen to have your card hanging out there on a tree. do
Yeah,
you?
exactly. I don't. But you'll find me on the internet. I'm all over. And Molly, I'm starting a whole television station on the internet, not just my show, but other hosts who I feel have the ability to encourage viewers to call in and to make comments.
Really?
And not to be intimidated to think only, the professional people can be thinking about these things,
Yeah,
but that we should all be thinking about these things.
yeah.
And we all need to come together and solve our
Like
problem.
global warming and everything else?
Yes, global warming is something I do because I don't believe that the science is correct and that carbon CO2 is not a problem. But that's just my feeling again, and I want to encourage anybody who has a different feeling to come aboard. Like in Dayton, I had invited all of the experts on it to come because John Cheshire, who started the shrimp business, he lost money in that business.
Well, Mrs.
But it's
Thomas
a
is
multi-billion
a good person for you to know.
But it's a multi-billion-dollar business today. So you see, he was a pioneer. So he's been studying many things, alternative energy, zero-point energy, and he studied because of my introducing him to it. I said, there's something wrong with the global warming science here. So I invited some of the professors from the Bird Polar Research Center at the University in Columbus, and they wouldn't come. So, we need the scientists to get off the pedestal and start answering some simple questions, which they're not answering. You can give Al Gore a Nobel Prize, and you can have a lot of praise and labels, but keep in mind, Adolf Hitler was nominated for a Nobel Prize in 1939, right before he was invading Poland. And if it wasn't for some prominent people taking him off the nomination list, Adolf Hitler might have had a Nobel Prize. So it means, on my show, I'm constantly trying to encourage people, think it through for yourself. But they need to have it presented to them, and that's why
need to have it presented. You hit the nail on the head there. Right there.
Right.
That is the important thing of all.
Right. And Manhattan Neighborhood Network allows that opportunity. It is precious. I felt like I was going into a cathedral the first time I entered there, and I had the help of a friend who put me in front of a camera, and my first show for 2 years was about holistic dentistry.
Was about what?
Holistic dentistry.
Oh my goodness.
And so some people said that they liked to listen to my show because they liked my voice and they could go to sleep better. But then I got frustrated. I didn't want to just put people to sleep. So I went to India for 4 years and studied a lot of this. I was interested in how Jesus did the miracles.
Really?
Yeah. And I learned a lot. And I came back, and if it wasn't for the key to Gramercy Park, I would have had the most difficult cultural shock. So when you say you don't like to go to Manhattan, I understand what you mean. But they're beautiful parts of Manhattan, and they're parts that have a lot of nature. And I ride my bicycle around, and I feel like the luckiest person, and I pretend I'm steeplechasing.
Well, I was brought up with my grandmother at 1 East 69th Street, and that's not far from Gramercy, is it?
Well, we're in the 20s, 20th, but you were definitely uptown in those days. Practically the country, right? Compared to now,
Well,
you should see.
at that point, I did not think it was country.
Yeah. Well, a sad thing is they've just sold the one stable in Central Park, and it's going to be made into a condominium. And and I talked to one store. I'm actually going to show them this interview because I'm seeking sponsors for shows that might fit with different people that are providing a service. And this is a beautiful shop on 26th Street that sells horse supplies, beautiful jodhpurs and saddles. And, I'm so sorry. I got their card, and I've just been meaning for the right time to go. And I said, is this hurting you that the stables has been closed in Central Park? And you know what they told me? They said it doesn't hurt them because all the tourists from all over the world come, and they want to buy, beautiful riding clothes.
It isn't Miller's.
It's on 26th and 5th Avenue.
There used to be 3 great horse places in New York, Miller's, Kaufman's, and M.J. Nowd's, and none of them may be in existence anymore.
Can you tell me the addresses roughly?
I can't remember.
Just roughly?
I was a kid.
You were a kid then?
I was 8 years old. And
but say the names again.
Miller's,
Kaufman's,
M.J. Nowd.
M.J. Nowd.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
and they may have been out of business for 50 years.
I'm going to look into it for you because part of my project now is I want to create media that's accountable to the people. And in doing that, I want to go to local businesses and show their stories so that when you go on the internet, you'll have a map and a star of someone who's sponsoring what we're doing. You click on the star, and you'll get a wonderful, warm interview, just like what I've had with you ladies. You know, people will get to know what's...
We have learned a lot.
Yeah, I've learned
Yes,
a lot.
indeed.
Yeah, because it's people like you who have all these experiences. If we can learn from the people older than us, we won't make the
Ask
same
her
mistakes.
who's that experience.
Yeah.
I know nothing about sort of, except a little bit about farm work and whatnot.
Yeah, I know you're a hard worker. But anyway, thank you again
Wonderful
so
meeting
much.
you, and
Yeah.
I'm glad you're here in this spot of heaven.
Yeah,
And I'm glad that Patty's here. I think this is great. It's a wonderful place.
yeah, yeah. Well, we'll get this. I will see to it that you are the first to see what I'm doing on this. Okay.
Great. Well, I'm
Okay.
still back here for another month, but I'll be home the middle of November.
Okay.
I'm so glad you were just where you were, the
Yeah.
moment that you were.
And just
and
thinking
we
about
drove
you.
up just at that
That's
moment.
what I was saying. I was doing yoga and I was thinking about you, and I said, I wonder what happened to Mrs. Hannum, because that interview was so interesting.
Here we are.
Yeah.
Here we are. I brought a better person to see you than me, though.
Oh, you're great.
I'm so glad to see you.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye. I'll get you driving off.
Bye.
I just have 1 minute left of tape so I can get you driving out. And the dogs. So there you go. If you don't think that meditation works, well, I think you better think again. This is Patty Miller's medicine wheel, and I have my curtains sort of decharging on it. And right now they're driving off, not exactly into the sunset, and the dogs are following them behind.
Great meeting you.
Yeah, you too. And I think this is the magic of Patty Miller.